Okay, ladies, gentlemen, people, whatever, welcome back. How's everybody doing? I'm recording this episode in between Christmas and New Year's. We're going to release it in a couple of days. We had a few good back-to-backs, which is very awesome. And I'm grateful for all the feedback that we've been getting. And, it seems like we're having a positive effect on people, and that's nice. It's what we're doing here for. It's why we're doing it, however you want to say it. And there's more good stuff to come. I have some good guests that are lined up, and I'm very excited to introduce them to you all if you don't know them already. So just be patient, and every couple of days, we'll be putting stuff out. Typically, we release on Tuesdays and Fridays. That's how it's been for now, and then we'll see how it goes going forward. This is let me see, 1, 2. I'm on my third day of just debauchery with food. Oh man. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and today, this is like day 3. I literally just ate a thing of the chicken ramen, which I make fun of my kids because it's freaking poison. That stuff it's not even real food. It's just plastic and it's whatever. And I think I've been trapped in this cycle for a couple of days where it's just I want to take some time off and just loaf around and do whatever. I mean, I've been hanging out with my family and doing that kind of stuff, but I really let myself go off the rails as far as the food goes. And I would say I'm pretty good about what I put into my body as far as food goes, but I've been doing everything. I've been doing rice, a lot of rice. I've been doing pasta. I've been doing everything that has sugar, cakes, candies, everything. It's been crazy. Oddly enough, it's been crazy. I have not been to the gym one day. I thought I was going to go today. Maybe when I get home, I'll ride the bike. I'm a huge Peloton fan. But I've just been basically, just kind of poisoning myself over the last 3 days, thinking that I'm enjoying it. And I enjoy it for those little moments when the food is going down and when you're chewing it. It's just they make all of the devil taste so good, But I get that hangover. I feel like crap when I'm done, and my body starts aching and whatever. I get a few creaks, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I can start my day over at any time, and maybe I'll start it over now. Drinking some sparkling water. I prefer Liquid Death as the brand. It's really, really good. Actually, if you can find it wherever you find it, it's not too carbonated. So then that way you can drink a lot of it at one time. I have been attending meetings. I've been staying close to the rooms the last few days because holidays, it gets a little funky. It gets a little funky. And what family members are doing what, who's not inviting who to where. And now with the new COVID strain and all of this fear that's going on. Yeah, it's crazy. And there's an uptick in positive cases and that kind of stuff. And, what it makes me think about a little bit is I'm not really apathetic towards the whole situation, but what else can I do? Literally, what else can I do? I'm not going to sit in my house and do nothing because I will lose my mind. And I take pretty good care of myself. So, if I do get sick, then I guess maybe I get sick. But I just can't live in fear anymore. Yeah. And when I see that with other people, I try to not really convince them not to be like that. I mean, they're allowed to be how they are and that kind of stuff. But I was talking about it with the kid Jesus today, who we did an episode and put it up on Christmas Eve, and it's awesome. If you guys haven't heard it, go back and listen. It's really good, especially if you're, Puerto Rican from New York, or if you're just from a dysfunctional family. I don't know any family that's not dysfunctional, even though we like to, separate ourselves and say, oh my God, my family's crazy. Like, some people are crazy on the outside, some are crazy on the inside, and that's okay. So, yeah, so what I was talking to him about was, where do I find the frustration with people, And this is one of the things that I find frustrating is that, there is, I'm going to adjust the microphone. I don't even know if it'll come out, but yeah, there's this thing where people, they just live in fear, man. And I don't know why I'm so repulsed by it, but it actually, it makes me angry when I listen to, like, oh my God, like, you don't have to be completely ignorant, but to, like, morbidly wander and hang out in that place emotionally and mentally where all you're feeding yourself is things that make you scared, Yeah, like I can't even be around it for too long, And the other thing is I can't really combat it. Like, sometimes I try and gauge a situation where somebody's saying something, and then I try to look at the positive stuff and say, here's the other side of that situation where, like, if you're, I guess when we're talking about COVID or whatever, if you're vaccinated and maybe you got your booster, I did not get a booster. I don't know if I'm going to get one, to be honest with you, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, there's nothing else that you can do, except for sit in your house. And if you're going to sit in your house, or if you're going to isolate yourself from everybody and everything, if you believe that's the healthiest thing you can do for yourself, then by all means do it. But if you're sitting in your house and you're just, like, lathering yourself in the negativity and the self-pity, and then maybe you turn into me, where I sat around for a whole day yesterday, just sitting on the couch watching movies, eating junk food. And I know I'm very uncomfortable after a while, but I said, it's almost like, let me try the dark side for a little bit. And I do it maybe a couple of days out of the year. And it's hell for me. I could never live like that. So I don't know what I'm going to do when I get older. But anyway, the point is that, that could never be my life. So I can only just do and control what I can. And everything else, I got to do what I want to do. I got to live this life. I got to get out there. I got to get outside. I got to see people. I got to see things. I got to be free. I have to be free from my own thoughts and my own fears that I tried so hard and worked so hard to crawl out of them, because the conversation I was having, even with Jesus and also with my lady, was like, you can be stuck in that perpetual hamster wheel of fear, and then that fear will cause you to take actions which actually make the fear come true. So you're manifesting, even though I hate that word, but you're manifesting your own reality that's based on fear that is not even here. It's not, you're scared of things that have yet to happen. And I think the flip side of that, which is what I really try to focus on, is, instead of fear, how about I just respect the disease? I just respect it. I say, okay, this is what this thing does, so I'm going to do my part, and out of respect, it's not based out of fear, so that I don't have to, I can sleep well. I can say that. I can honestly sleep well. Yesterday was the first day that in a long time, because like, I mean, I was off the rails, I was drinking Red Bulls all day and eating all type of stuff, and it was madness. It was just mad. I was like basically going in and out of consciousness from food comas, and it was all poison food crap. So, but yesterday I took like, he's like Unisom sleeping pills. I was like, dude, I know I'm going to need one of these to go to sleep, because there's no way with all the shit that I put into my body today that I'm going to be able to sleep comfortably. So it's bizarre that I did that to myself, and New Year's is coming and I don't think I'm going to do it again. Well, hopefully not, because now it's so hard to, once you ring that bell, it's so hard to unring the bell. It really is, because I checked the scale this morning and I put on a nice, in the last 2 or 3 days, like a nice 2.5 or 3 pounds, I think it was. And that's a lot, because it's not from vegetables. And I'm not working out and becoming 3 pounds more jacked. That stuff is all just poison. But anyway, yeah, going back to the respect thing, so I just respect the disease or the sickness or whatever, and I do what I can. And then everything else I just got to live with. So what I was talking about with Jesus was like, it's such a point of, it's such a point of resentment, I guess you want to call it, or I get so angry and so agitated when people just focus on the negative and then they just live there. And I'm like, dude, you don't understand. You could be somebody else. You can do anything. You have to start right now. But it's not, it's bad. It's a bad place to be. And then every time you try to throw them 1 or 2 gems of the other side of the coin, they have something else. They have something else. They have something else. So I'm like, you know what? You actually just want to be miserable. And then you're a mean person if you say that. Like, no, what do you mean? That's so insensitive. Like, no, bullshit. You want your life to be mediocre. And you want it to be the way that it is. Because if you didn't, you'd be willing to maybe get some help, or if somebody offers you some advice, not to just impulsively be so negative. And I know, because I used to be like that. So the only tools that I give is I'm trying to show somebody, how they can change their perspective. And your perspective on any situation is actually what's going to really propel you to make better choices. And if you make better choices, you take better actions, eventually you have a better life. So you can respect both sides of the coin. Like if something is going to go bad, there's an equal chance, or maybe not, or whatever, but there is some chance that it's also going to go good. And the actions you take are the ones that are going to force you to maybe make the good stuff happen. It basically is based on these actions. And the other thing is, it's hard to do on your own, which is why, you have these conversations with other people. Maybe you ask for some help, or maybe you just chit chat or whatever, trying to get some good ideas, read a book, listen to a podcast, do something to shake yourself out of that hole, just to shake yourself out. Because I know it's a dark place. It's a dark place. But there is another way. There is another way. So what else? Yeah, holidays just came and went. I went upstate. I saw my parents. And and it went pretty good. I had one my antenna went up, because my dad uses like foul language, but not like foul, like, regular curse words, but I mean like really foul. It was funny. Yeah. And I was listening in another room, eating with my family, and now my cousin, they brought up their new boyfriend, who's a black guy, which is whatever, is no problem. It's a description. Anyway, but it's an important part of the story. And a good portion of my family actually has black skin. So even if they're not African American, But either way. So my dad is in the kitchen with him and a few other people, and he's like holding court, quote unquote, which basically means he's just babbling, and he's got this poor guy, and he's got the guy's ear in a headlock, and he's just bludgeoning him with story after story after story after story. Because my dad is not at a point yet in his life where he can just be cool and let everybody else be cool, and people will like him if he says less. He really has like foot and mouth disease anyway. So he is telling the guy a story about animals that they have in the backyard. Mind you, we live in the woods. So there's deer. There are skunks. There is woodchucks. There are woodchucks. My mom is like a wizard at catching the woodchucks, by the way. There are raccoons. And I think that's it. Squirrels, all this kind of stuff. So my dad doesn't think that he should not say the word coon instead of raccoon. So when he's describing a story where the skunk is like fighting the raccoon over the garbage, he uses the word coon instead of raccoon in front of the black guy. Now I'm in another room and I hear it. And I'm like, bro, are you crazy? But I don't know if he could have just made a mistake. But I was waiting for him to clean it up. That's the thing. He said it just so he can, like, it's so weird. Now, if I'm using the right thing. He said it just so he can throw out the cleanup to show that he's not racist. And my dad is just an old white Jewish man. So he says the word coon, blah, 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 blah. Says it a couple of times. And I'm there and I'm eating in a dining room with my goddaughter, nephews, my girl, kids. And I'm waiting because I know what's going to happen. He's going to be like, oh, no, by the way, when I say coon, I don't really mean coon. Like the way you would think that I would mean it, I mean raccoon. And of course that comes. And then he goes into explaining himself. And that all comes from the same place where, he thinks he's going to get more. I mean, now I'm speculating, so. But as an observer of this kind of behavior most of my life, I can say something. I can make an inference. Is that the right word? I can make an inference. He couldn't wait to explain to the guy that him being black doesn't matter. Instead of it just not mattering and him not saying anything. And him being cognizant of saying the word raccoon instead of the word coon. But here we are. So now the guy's explaining to my dad, and the guy's a lovely guy. The guy's explaining to my dad, he's saying, listen, I didn't even take it like that. And I'm in the other room and I'm like, dude, I took it like that. Maybe he's being polite, maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe he's just like, dude, this is how old white men talk. They say words like coon, which is weird. But yeah. Anyway, so that went over and it was fine. And the best part of the whole thing is I didn't even get involved. Because typically that is with my ego and everything else, that's the bat signal. Oh, now I get to be right. And I get to be the one to put my dad in his place. And I get to show up there and I get to be like, listen, let me talk to you over here. And now I get to flex my machismo. When in reality, none of it had anything to do with me. I'm not in my own home. This is not my daughter. This is not my daughter or son's boyfriend. This guy's nobody to me except for the new boyfriend of my cousin, whom I love absolutely dearly all the way to the moon. And this is the person she's seeing. And he seemed like a very nice guy. So there's that. Yeah, there's that. And the fact that I was able to have this kind of dialogue with myself, to sit my ass in my seat and stay there, it was nice. And that was like, I could never understand how I'm going to react to any situation until I'm in that situation. Because I shared it on another episode, I don't know which one, where I lost it on him and threatened him in a restaurant for being rude to the staff. Like, yeah, he was right. I can't be around people who are rude to the staff in a restaurant. It's repulsive to me. Anyway, so he wasn't. I like threatened him in front of everybody, ruined basically my lady's birthday. It was her 40th birthday. So that was only 2 years ago. And at that time, I had been sober maybe 15 or 16 years. So this is still a hot button for me, I guess. And even though I had those feelings, I was like, oh, this guy's crazy. He's a prick. But, I stayed to myself and I let it play out. And that's a good thing. And I learned that not that long ago, but I was thinking about what one of my sponsors said when he told me, he says, just because you show up doesn't mean you have to get involved. And that was an eye-opening thing for me. Because, I figured that if I'm here, that means I have to run the show and everybody has to know everything that I'm thinking and everything that I'm feeling and all of these other things. Like, I can't just show up because, in recovery, that's rule number one. They teach you, hey, you got to show up. You got to show up. And you learn how to show up, and then you learn how to show up in life, and you can have yourself whatever kind of love song you want to have, But learning to show up and not get involved, that takes a lot of work, especially when I have long-standing resentments towards my parents in different ways. And I don't even know how resentful I am until the situation comes up. I'm like, hey, this makes me angry, or reminds me mostly of myself, but it reminds me of other situations. Or maybe I didn't say something, or I feel embarrassed. But you know what? I'm realizing that even if he did, just like in the restaurant, like he embarrassed himself. All I did was make it worse, And I could have handled that better with class. And maybe this was my moment with this guy, to handle it with class and to pull him aside, which is what I should have did in the restaurant and be like, listen, man, you need to just relax and calm down because you are being an unreasonable person at the moment, and you're embarrassing everybody. And I don't know if you don't agree or understand, but just shut the fuck up. I could have just even said that. And it's funny because my dad and I, it's how we talk to each other. I can tell my dad, hey, come on, shut the fuck up. And he doesn't take it personal, which is weird, but that's how it is. I would never say that kind of stuff to my mom. But, my dad is from that time that, people said those things to their kids. So whatever. Anyway, I don't want to go off too much of a tangent, but that was good. That was good. And then we opened some gifts, which were also nice. The gifts were good. There was a lot of love in the house. And that was great. The food was great. And then we drove home. My girl got me a couple of T-shirts. No, she got me what did she got me? What did I get? I got a T-shirt. My favorite movie on earth. If we're ever all of us together on a game show. And they say, what's Jay's favorite movie? Some people will say Scarface, which could be true. It could be true because when we were kids, that's the movie they used to put on to put us to sleep. We would all be laying down on the floor, on a weekend, like all my cousins would all stay in somebody's house and they put the Scarface on. It would be 2 cassette tapes, part 1 and part 2. And I know that we all know the dialogue, front, back, sideways, we know the whole thing. So very possible that somebody would say that, but the answer would be wrong. My favorite movie is Snatch, the Guy Ritchie film. That is my favorite movie of all time, up until now. and it will forever will be. So either way, so my lady, she got me a brick top shirt that says something like, I forgot what it says exactly, but like brick top slaughterhouse, and it has like the pigs on there. It's perfect. And unless you know the movie, you don't know what it is, which makes me feel cool, because then other people who love the movie will be like, oh my God, that's a great shirt. And I'll say, yes, it is. And then I get a little check mark for being cool, because I want to be cool. So I got that. She got me also a Bape hoodie, which I've been wanting. That I saw a few years ago. She got me one of those. I think that's really it, which is perfect. I don't need anything. We got the kids whatever they wanted, and that's fine. So then yesterday we just sat around, we ate, we watched stuff, watched movies, and just kind of marinated in, whatever post-holiday stuff. And there was no drama. There was no crying, any of those things. Holidays sometimes are tough because like my mom and my dad, they miss my sister. I miss her too. I miss her being around. And yeah, there's a little bit of sadness, but here we are. And she's with the Lord. And that's that. There's nothing we can do about it. And when the sadness comes, I don't even disallow myself to go through those things. A lot of times I'll think about her when I'm driving, I'm by myself, and like 80s music comes on or whatever, because that was our time, and she loved that kind of stuff. But, she was in pain. She was in pain, man, mental and emotional pain. And circling back to what I was talking about with Jesus, like I would try and show her, like, listen, you don't have to live like that. I don't have all the answers, but I have this one. But the one answer that I have is that I don't have all the answers. That's the freaking answer. So but she was unwilling, or she wasn't ready. I don't know, but she just wasn't willing to take advice. She did it for a little while. She went to the Landmark Forum. I don't know much about it, aside from she called me one day and she happened to be going over the weekend or whatever she had to do. And she basically made amends to me and was crying on the phone. And I was like kind of blindsided by it. But it was basically her owning her own side of the street. And you can't really move on if you have too much baggage in the trunk of the car. So she was letting some of that stuff out. And that was cool. And I understood, because like in my program, we have a 9th step and a 10th step that we do that kind of stuff with. So I was happy that she was ridding herself of that. But those courses are mad expensive, like hundreds or whatever, thousands of dollars. And I'm like, fucking for what? Here comes the judgmental, I know more than you stuff. I'm just preempting. So in my mind, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, they're paying hundreds or thousands of dollars. It's a crash course in, some cognitive therapy or whatever it is. And who knows? The way she was describing it was basically like steps 4, 5, 8, 9. And it didn't seem like there was some kind of spiritual component, and there definitely wasn't any post program like community. I go to meetings all the time, every day. If I can, I would love to. When I go every day, oh my God, I feel so good. It's the best thing on earth. But at least a few times a week, 3, 4, 5 times a week if I can. And I get to be with my people. And I get to feel that love in the room. And I get to, there are people who are in my life every day. Recovery is my whole life. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I finally belong somewhere. And she didn't get that from that. And I don't know if that's part of it or if that's not part of it or whatever it was. But she didn't get that. So she just became like a repeat offender, where she just lived in that in that cycle of, no, I know everything. Similar to my dad, like those, I sometimes believe that those traits, I don't know if it's nature versus nurture. I don't know any of that stuff. But, those behaviors and the thought processes, or I don't know the right tense. But either way, I think some of that stuff is in like DNA and is like hereditary because my father is like that. My sister was like that. And I was definitely like that. And my mom is just stubborn Spanish lady who talks in freaking riddles. And it's very hard to communicate with her. You can pick a language. It don't matter. It's very hard to, sometimes you may think that, maybe she has trouble formulating her thoughts in English and spitting that out. But her English is really good now. When I was a kid, it definitely, could use some work, some Rosetta Stone. But now she's like really super good. Maybe she was at 60 or 70% when I was a kid. Now she's like maybe 90%. But, it's just what it was. So, yeah, when my eyes got opened that I don't have all the answers, I don't have all the ideas, I don't have all of these things. And I tried to share that way with her, similar to the way I try to share it with other people in the rooms. So frustrating when they just won't comply. It's so frustrating. Because I didn't realize until I did and surrendered to this kind of life that I can really take control of my future. And I can take control of my feelings. I can take control of my feelings. Now, I can't always dictate what feelings come and are going to come in. I can't always dictate that. When something bothers me, or I feel inadequate, or I feel insecure, or I feel something, I can allow myself to feel it, but then I've trained myself into looking at both sides of the coin so that way I can properly analyze the situation. And then once that happens, and typically it can involve somebody else. At this point in my recovery, it's very rare that I'm in a bad spot that I have to make phone calls right away. That doesn't really exist too much in my life. But I have a constant drip of outside opinions from people who I admire and people who I respect. And sometimes it is just clarification that I am doing the right thing because I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What I said makes sense. And as long as it's not a bad thing, I'm going to move along. So yeah, I've been doing it for so long that it's just part of my life. But it took a long time to unwire that. And that was maybe my gift to all of you people. And I was trying to give that to my sister. I even tried to give it to my dad, that there's another way. And you don't have to be the smartest person everywhere. Even if you are very intelligent, you have to have all the answers, or you have to have the spotlight. To be able to just sit and be it's actually amazing. It's actually amazing. And I'm going through something now where I think maybe it's the Lord. I'm not sure. And when I share this with other people, I get frustrated when they don't believe me initially, but then I'm like, what the fuck do they know? And maybe I mentioned this another time, I'm not sure, because this has been going on for some time. But I got my shots in April, the Pfizer shots. Number one, when I decided on my own to go get the shots, first things first, I'll say is that I don't believe in the mandates at all. And that's what I'll say. I don't believe in the mandates. You want to get the shots, you get them. You don't want to get them, don't get them. It's up to you. Also, how I educated myself was my choice. There's a lot of information out there. And it's crazy because it's like political. The best thing I heard in the last few days was somebody said it. It might have been Rogan or somebody. Rogan the king, said that the blue mask is the MAGA hat for the Democrats. And I thought that was perfect because that's what it is. It's like, no, our science is the best science and we know everything. You guys are so stupid. And, I remember when Joe Biden and Kamala, whomever, said they wouldn't take the vaccine while Trump was president. They were like, dude, we're not going to take that. It's not FDA approved. Whatever the reason they were. I'm sure some little Twitter finger person will go and find out the exact quote and be like, you're a fucking hater. No, but I remember, like, dude, these people up there, they're such hypocrites. It's ridiculous. I remember Kamala telling everybody that she believes that all those accusers that Joe Biden accused, she believes them. But now here we are, right? Either way. So the hypocrisy is fucking crazy. So anyway, I got the information that I was looking for. I listened to different podcasts. I listened to interviews. I read some stuff about the girl who discovered the gene sequence or whatever for the mRNA vaccine. She's a brilliant lady. I don't know her name. Let me see if I can find it very quickly. So that way, I have a little bit of credibility. Hold on one second. Just bear with me. What's her name? It says ba 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 ba. Da 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 da. The key to that mission was 34-year-old doctor by the name of Kismika Corbett or Corbet, whatever you want to call her. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she's a freaking wizard. And me, I am a chimp. So she gave this whole story, how they got the gene sequence, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, I got that information. I did not listen to Dr. Fauci. I did not watch Fox News or CNN or any of this other stuff. I did my own independent analysis of my own life. And I made my own decision. I said, I'm going to get this thing. And then when and because of that, so I said, okay, this sounds legit. I'll go get it. Mind you, there were no mandates at the time or whatever, and I could do whatever I want, but I chose to do it. Now, the people who also live in my house, some of them are immunocompromised, and they followed suit, whatever. So when I show up to get the shot, I'm in, I think it was the CVS. I show up to get it, and I was like some kid. I was like 3 kids. They could have been my own children with lab coats on, even though we weren't in the lab. But I guess maybe to make them look official. And they were jabbing people up. So I said, hey, man, it was a little bit of a deterrent, but I was like, okay, I'm here. Mind you, I didn't know how much more potent the Moderna vaccine was versus the Pfizer. All of that stuff, I guess, maybe I either didn't know at the time the information wasn't available to us or to me or whatever. And it's funny because at the time I was making money trading Moderna options like fucking crazy. I made a couple of thousand doing that in a week or two. So I was happy about that. Either way, when I came out of there, I was okay. First shot, second shot. Months go by. And I have the brain fog that maybe people don't want to talk about. I don't know, but I have it. And I didn't have it before I took this vaccine. And that's just the truth. Now, as soon as you say that to somebody, they're like, oh no, you must have had, because it's not possible that I got it. It's impossible that I got it from the Pfizer vaccine, the brain fog, where it's actually saving a lot of my relationships with people, because many times I'm like a M16 or an Uzi machine gun just my mouth will move 10 times faster than my brain. And I used to have a lot of foot and mouth disease because I didn't know how to stop that. And maybe the Lord just came in and he fixed those squeaky brakes. And it was the vaccine that did it, because I was not like this before I went. And now I am. And I think it's making me think a little bit more. It's definitely frustrating when I know what I want to say, and then I have to pause and talk slow like I just did, and then the rest of it comes out and whatever. So that's like frustrating. It comes into play in my favor when I'm thinking of something stupid to say, and then I say, oh no, I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to be quiet. So that's where it comes and saves me. And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm just going to get up every day. I'm going to try and be happy. I'm going to try and feed myself the right food for my brain, food for my spirit, food for my physical health. And that's it. And to be honest, this is why I'm not taking a booster. I'm like, bro, I already took these 2 things. They probably wore off already. I'm in good enough shape that I'll take my chances with the corona. Now, if anybody, and I know I have plenty of friends that are like, well, if you don't follow everything that they tell you, then you're going to get somebody else sick and you're going to, going down that fear rabbit hole. And I say, listen, why? But I'm allowed. I'm allowed to be stupid. I'm allowed to be ignorant. It's America, right? I'm allowed. That's the whole thing. For every time that you tell me that somebody, there's enough information on both sides of that fence that nobody knows the whole truth. And since none of these people can really be trusted, like 100%, come on, bro. Are you kidding me? The way they're talking about, like, how come nobody's talking to me? This is, all right, now I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. Like, how come nobody's talking about physical health? Like, do you know why most people should be vaccinated? This is just my opinion. Is that because most people are freaking obese and they're fat, and how I lived the last 2 or 3 days, that makes me feel like shit. They've been living like that for 2 or 3 years, and they're susceptible. And that's why they should be vaccinated. The data or the numbers or whatever, who knows how real those numbers are. And let me tell you something. If it's your turn to go, it's your turn to go. Now, you're going to help it along by jumping in front of a truck? No. But are you also going to help it along by sitting in your house with mittens and gloves and, bleach everywhere, or doing whatever it is? You're living in fear like that, you're like literally wasting your own time because you don't know what's going to happen. Whereas like the life that I live is so incredible when I'm not in that place, which is 95% of the time. I'm not in that place. Like, I'm having the best day of my life most of the time. And if it doesn't have to be like, oh, there's no other days that have been greater, but the only day that I have is the day that I'm living. The one that I'm living right now. This is the only one that I got. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I don't know about any of that stuff. The only thing I could do is really control how I feel and how I think and how I behave in this given moment. This is the heaven. If they take me away, then, bro, they took me away. There's nothing I can do. It's nothing that can be done. And I think that's what life is really about. It's about that perspective. Am I living today or am I dying today? Both things are happening, right? Both things are happening, but the perspective difference is huge. It's freaking huge. And to try and teach somebody that they can change their perspective is why we're here. We're here to love them and put these breadcrumbs in a way where they'll find the glory. They'll find that love. They'll find a better investment of their time. I heard a quote the other day, and I shared it with my lady because to me it described her to a T. And the quote was like, "You can be the canary in the coal mine." That's our job. We have to be the canaries. We can be singing. We can be bringing joy to people, to the rest of the world, to this earth. And on that note, that's your homework, ladies, gentlemen, people, identifiers of all whatevers. Your homework is to go out there and try and change your perspective on things when it's negative. Just change your perspective. Learn how to respect the negative possibility. Just respect it. Don't be scared of it. And then understand that the positive part is there too. And if you need help recognizing that, find a group of people. Like I said, eventually we're going to hook up like a phone line here where people can call in and whatever. I think that would be cool also. And you can email us if you want. The email address is thespiritualexperience79@gmail.com. Let me just double confirm that because I'm a psychopath. Yes, thespiritualexperience79, all one word, all lowercase, @gmail.com. And yeah, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Peace.